Throw me another charge.
Welcome back to Propology 101, and today we're going to talk about this. The Rebel Endor bunker bomb. This is kind of one of those props that doesn't get a lot of attention. A lot of people don't talk about it, but then when you do start looking into it, you get totally fascinated by it. Now, it's made up of a few pieces we don't know what they are. The main pieces we don't know what they are is the actual main body and the skirt that's on the bottom of the main body. And those are the two parts that make up the main part of the bomb. I have a theory about the main body part. I think it might be some sort of electric motor housing. And to me, in some of the pictures I've looked at, it actually looks like it's a sand casting, like industrially made. If it is an electric motor, it's some sort of single-use proprietary type motor, I think, because it doesn't fit anything else I've ever seen, but it does seem to me that it's an electric motor. On the bottom, they made a resin cap. In the movie, they would set it in place and then turn the top and little LED lights would light up. And I think they made these bottoms to hold the batteries and the switch and everything inside. Because if not, I believe it's just, like I said, it's just a housing that you would unbolt and pull all the guts out of, and that's all they have. Now, the skirt is a little bit different. It's made of plastic. The source of it is also unknown. It has 36 holes in 4 groupings of 9. And in this one, this particular best surviving example, the skirt's broken. But if you look on the inside, it's hollow. And each point where the holes are drilled through it, there's a little step on the inside. And I think those holes were original to the part for whatever it was designed for. Some people have said it's maybe some sort of a lampshade or who knows what it is. But it is definitely made out of plastic, and the original holes, the holes that are in it, are original to the part. The whole thing is painted brown, but if you notice on the main body, there's some red or orange paint that's showing through. And some people thought to speculate at one time that they thought the thing was plastic. I think it's cast iron, and I think it's painted red, and it probably has to do, or painted orange or red. I think that still has something to do with whatever its original life, like it was painted the same color as the machine it was attached to. There's also painted on there, we got red stripes and yellow stripes. The red stripes are banded around the bottom, and the yellow stripes are vertical. And if you notice in one of the yellow stripes, there appears to be a sticker, and there's some writing on the sticker. I had one time heard a story secondhand from someone who worked on Return of the Jedi. And he was talking about one of the other prop makers on the movie making up sheets of markings. It's not Airbrush. This is before Airbrush really was a thing. These were made just to look science fiction-y and not like anything else that we're commonly used to. Like, it doesn't look like any Asian writing or anything like that. And he sent that out to a company, and he had dry transfers created. I remember these from when I was a kid. Depending on what font you had and size of letter, you would just take these, and they were clear so you could see through and line up, and you would just run your pencil over that letter and it would transfer it. And then you could go and spell out a word, put a number or whatever. They had these sheets created custom for the Return of the Jedi prop department. And they were just laying everywhere. The people that were talking about loved this idea because you could just grab them and then scribble a bunch, transfer these markings over. I'm almost 100% sure that's where those markings on this bomb came from. They had all kinds of different sizes, so they were used on control panels. They were used everywhere. I think it was an individual's idea to have these available. Like I said, it adds depth and world building. Now, greeblies, we know what most of the greeblies are, and there's just one or two that we don't know what they are. The first greebly is there's two of these on each side. They're silver. They got vents in the sides of them. Each one's held on by 4 flathead screws. It took me a while back in the day to figure out what this part was, and I actually built a project reproducing this part without knowing what it was. And after I found out what it was and got even more information about it, I'm kind of actually going to go back, maybe redo that part on that prop. But it's basically the internal guts to an EMI photo multiplier diode. I've also talked about this before because I theorized that the photo multiplier diode was actually what was used on the electro binoculars and not an actual vacuum tube. But we still never have actually found one that matches perfect. Moving to the top, on the left hand and the right hand, or front or back, wherever, on each side, there's these tiny little knurled screws. And these are actually, I believe these same screws are used on Darth Vader's chest box or his belt box. But these come from the J.A. Mitchell transcription machine. We've talked about this a lot before. And I believe there's actually, on the transcription machine, there's only one of these. And I think its job is to hold the needle head to the needle arm. You just unscrew that and the needle head will come off. And that also goes back reinforcing my theory that J.A. Mitchell just supplied buckets of rejected parts from the transcription machine manufacturing process. Like I said, those were very expensive back then. They're super expensive today. And it would require 2 transcription machines just for this one prop. Now, sitting next to those are these 2 little square greeblies that are painted the same color as the bomb itself, the base, that brown color. They got a hash mark on top, and what those are boot studs, or nails. Other people will refer to them as nails. Basically, they're there to give your boots more traction, especially like on ice and other things like that. Also, there are 2 slide knobs, like an EQ slide knobs from a stereo. We don't know exactly what stereo or what manufacturer stereo they came from. I only have an example of what I'm talking about. They're in the top of the bomb. There is 3 cutouts, 2 right next to each other and 1 larger on the back side. Now the third cutout in the back, it has a cable management tool or whatever. It's called a Mulbrod cable clip. They have an adhesive back. You glue it down and then you can snap a cable in it and use that for cable management. That's what that is. And funny enough, they actually use these on the inside of Boba Fett's armor to manage the cables going to his little chest display. To the left and right of that, we have 2 red LEDs. Now, I don't even think they manufacture this type of LED anymore. It's a flat lensed short one. But I did find a catalog that has them in it, and the catalog number is 81-211. And of course, these were rigged up to a switch and a battery inside, so during the actual filming, they could turn that switch and the lights would come on, which was pretty cool. I like that. And the top center greebly, which is actually the part you would twist as your switch, that's actually made up of 3 separate pieces to make that a greebly. And obviously, I believe they have a switch mounted on the inside directly on off connected to that, but we've never seen the inside of one, so we really don't know what they look like. The top, the base of the knob is an old stereo tuning knob or volume knob. And once again, we don't actually know what brand or model stereo that was taken from, but it is clearly, that's what it is. You can actually see in some of the photographs, you can see the little line for lining up to what you're doing. And you can also see that it's a style that's not a push-on, but it is a push-on, but it has a set screw to hold it in place. So that would actually help the narrowing the search down, but you can only search through so many 1970s stereos before you just like, I'm not going to find it right now. I'm going to give up, which is exactly what I did. I never did find the exact source. The middle piece is a gear from the Revell Visible Engine Kit. It's part number 54. It's the lower timing gear that sits on the crankshaft. And sitting on top of that is the last unknown greebly. As soon as I saw that part, I remembered a chair at my grandparents' house. And at one time, it got knocked over. This is a chair in the basement where all the grandkids played. So this chair eventually would get knocked over. And this chair got knocked over, and it had a foot on it. It's the old style metal feet that are hammered into the bottom of the chair. You'll also see them on couches. Most days now they're plastic, but it looked just like that. And I think I couldn't find an exact style that matches this, but I think that might actually be a furniture foot. I kind of think that's what that is. And even if they used like the dome type that I found, it wouldn't be that hard to take a tool or something and then strike it and concave it like that. That's very possible also, but I do believe that's what that is. And that was a super common thing, and they were super inexpensive, but I think that's what that was. And I think that's just about everything having to do with the Endor bunker bomb. Join us next time when we pull in another prop, tear it down, and see what it's made of.